Hello, and in this HTML and CSS tutorial, we're going to go over a bunch of CSS properties, including width and height, position, and float. So these are all really important things, and they're going to become even more important when we learn about divisions and when we learn about IDs and classes, which are extremely useful. So to start off with, I've just kind of wiped clean our page. Oops, forget that. So we have a blank page like so. I pretty much just removed everything from the body section, everything from the body section, and also pretty much everything from our CSS. I also removed the background for the body section, and I set our margins to 0. So let's get started. So to start off with, I'm just going to tell you the difference between an inline element and a block element, because I don't believe we've gone over it before. So to start off with, let's just create a paragraph. It says, hello, I am a paragraph. I'm having a great time. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create a span. And I don't think we've used spans before either. Wow, so many new things in this tutorial. But pretty much they're just a generic inline element, and hopefully you understand a bit more what that means once we've gone over what block and inline elements are. So, hello, I'm a generic inline, apparently I can't spell, inline element, I'm a span. And then we're just going to go /span. So if we now load up our page, what might be easier? What if we also, let's have another span before it. I'm a span. It says, okay, let's do that. So in our markup, in fact, I have a better idea. This is a good idea. It'll work out. So I'm also a P. So pretty much what we have in our markup is we have one paragraph that says, hello, I'm a paragraph, I'm having a great time, and we end that paragraph. And then we have another paragraph that says, I'm also a P, and we end that paragraph. And then we have a span which says, I'm a span, and then we have a span which says, I'm a general inline element, I'm a span. So if we now refresh our page, so this is interesting, right? We have, hello, I'm a paragraph, I'm having a great time. So this is our first paragraph. And then we have, I'm also a P. Notice that's on a different line, and we have actually quite a lot of spacing between these two. And then we have I'm a span, which is our first span, which is on a different line to the P. And then we have I'm a general inline element, I'm a span, which is our second span. So basically the main thing to note here is that the two spans have got on the same line, and that's because they're inline elements. They're elements that will quite happily just go in line. That's really the best way I can describe it. And then we have block elements, such as a paragraph, which take up blocks, quite literally. And pretty much the general rule is you can have block elements inside of other block elements, you can have inline elements inside of block elements, but you can only have inline elements inside of inline elements. So span is just a generic inline element, which you can use for pretty much anything. Anyway, let's go back to the main part of this tutorial. So we're going to have an image, and that's going to have http://www.devhq.net/images/cake.png as its source. And then we're just going to close that, and remember we have the slash here because it's kind of like it's a standalone element. We don't need an ending tag for it. And then we have our paragraph, which we're going to make. I'm a paragraph. I'm having a great time. Woo! I'm going to end that, and then we're going to have a span. And that's just going to say, I'm a span, you mad bro. I'm going to end the span. So let's just see what that looks like on our page to start off with. So we have a picture of this cake, we have the paragraph, I'm having a great time, woo, and we'll have the span. Now just so we can tell what's happening with each of these, let's just give them some styling in the CSS. So to start off with, we have our img. And remember, as this is going to actually apply to every image on the page, which is why when we learn about IDs and classes, it's going to completely change the way we do things, because we'll be able to target just kind of unique images or a certain group of images to make them styled differently. But for now, we're just going to have to target every image on the page. So, and we're just going to give it a border of 5 pixels so you can see it, solid red. And then we're going to have, what do we have next, paragraph? Yep, the paragraph. And we can give that a border of 5 pixels solid blue. And we have our span, and we can give that a border of 5 pixels solid green. I should probably have done red, green, blue, so let's just switch these guys around. Okay, so let's just refresh. here we go. So we have our block element typically taking up 100% of the width. That's one of the things of a block element. So we have our image with a red border, we have our paragraph with a green border, and we have our span with a blue border. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to change the width and height of these different elements. So to start off with the image, what we can do is to change the width of something, or to set the width of something, you simply write width, and then we set this width property to a value in either pixels or ems or percentages or whatever units you want to use. So I'm just going to go ahead and use 500 pixels, for example, for the image, and when we refresh, you'll see, boom, it's gotten a whole lot bigger. Note that it's actually resized the height as well to keep the same aspect ratio and everything. But if we wanted to set the height to a different value, we can do that, and we'll learn how to do that in a second. So paragraph, we want to set the width perhaps, apparently I can't write, to 100 pixels. Now this is only 100 pixels. Probably should have been a bit more than that. Let's give it 300 pixels. Okay, on paragraph I'm having a great time. So it's like that, and we can see the width has changed by the border and by the fact that it's now kind of wrapping around. And I'm a span, you mad bro, can have a width of 100, let's just say. Okay, is it 100 already? That was width of 60 then. Width of 20 pixels. What are you playing at span? Well, apparently the span's doing something magical. It's probably insisting that it has enough space. That's odd. That's really odd. I'm a span, you mad bro. Give this a quick Google. Change size of span. Because people usually like change width of span. So people usually like seeing different troubleshooting things. Let's have a look at here. This is all I do when I come into problems. I Google it. Spans at inline element. Here we go. Spans at inline elements. We proved right earlier. Which, according to W3 specs, cannot be set to an explicit width. This means any compliant browser would not respect that width setting. So pretty much the span is not going to respect our width setting, although the image is. That's interesting. Is img a block or inline? Img can only contain other inline elements. So that's interesting. People are saying that an image is an inline element, which is what I thought anyway. But then they're also saying that we can't set a width on inline elements. Hence we can't set the width on the span, but we are allowed to set the width on an image. Image, inline, let's just have a look at another source for that. Yeah, they are inline. So span, width, not working. I can imagine people getting frustrated with that. This playbook will not help you. Span is inline again. So very interesting there. After that you can say width and span is it. So yeah, we could use display block to make the span actually a block element, or you could use, alternatively, you can use display inline if you ever want to make something an inline element. But it's interesting that we're allowed to set the width on images, even though they're inline. And apparently, W3, the guys that manage all these standards and stuff, so that we can't set a width on inline elements. So that's very interesting. Perhaps I'm missing something on that after that quick thing. I didn't actually realise that. So I'm not going to pretend I knew all along and I was just researching to help you guys. You know, I learned CSS and HTML as we all do. But pretty much, apparently a span may not have been the best idea to demonstrate this. So image, we can also set the height. So if we want to set the height to 200 pixels, we can do that, and it now looks pretty kind of warped and distorted. We can do the same on our paragraph, so I want to give it a bit more height, 200 pixels, like that. And span, our little inline element here, I'm guessing he isn't going to listen to anything we have to say either, are you? Let's just give him a height value. Nope, he's not listening to that either. So that's absolutely fine. Perhaps that's going to behave differently in different browsers, as in that quick search, I vaguely remember flicking through it with my eyes. Someone said that in IE, spans do respect that, so we have different browsers, the way they handle different things. So anyway, our paragraph is handling the width and the height fine, our image is handling the width and the height fine, and our span is not. So just to give another example here, if we want to set it to 20% width, that's going to be 20%. And we could do M's as well, but let's not go into that because this video is going to be way too long. Now we can also have min hyphen width and max hyphen width and min hyphen height and max hyphen height. So the best way to demonstrate this is probably with the paragraph. So let's just set the min height to 100 pixels. And let's refresh our web page. And you can see, okay, so it's now got this height, and what that is because automatically it's going to set the height to whatever is necessary for the content. But if we say, okay, the minimum height has to be 100 pixels, it's saying, okay, I'm not 100 pixels, so I'll extend myself to be 100 pixels. If we then went into our paragraph element and gave it some more text, like that, that's plenty of text, it's just going to automatically expand. It's going, okay, I'm allowed to be over 100 pixels, because it's my minimum width, which is 100 pixels. And the same thing is with this maximum width. So if we went in there now and said max height 100 pixels, then that's just going to screw up because the content's coming out of the paragraph. So let's just give that a min height. I like giving paragraphs min heights. Okay, so that's cool. It has a little bit of space left over, and that's okay. And we could do the same thing with width, min width, max width, but there's not really any need for that. I'm pretty sure you can work that out by yourself. So position is next of all, and let's demonstrate this with the image to start off with. So we're just going to say position, and that's the position property, and whenever we want to position something, we're going to be using this. And there's a variety of values we can give this. So to start off with, let's just go with absolute, and that's going to position it in relation it's difficult to explain, in this nearest structural element that has positioning data. So in this example, our image is just going to relate to the closest thing to it, which is going to be the body or the browser window. So if we just go position absolute, then we can give it a top property value of something, the distance we want it from the top. In this case, it's going to be the top of our screen basically, and left we can give that perhaps 10 pixels, and if we refresh the page we'll see, so this has gone to this point here, and I should probably add some more content to show you that it doesn't scroll down. Okay, so I need some more, save that, and okay, so if we scroll down, that's just going to stay up there, kind of as you'd expect. You scroll down, it goes off the page. So that's gone here. The stuff isn't really respecting it, so we have content behind it, and that's absolutely fine. That's the way position works. It's just going to do as it's told. So that's position absolute. Next of all, we have position fixed, and this is always going to be in relation to the browser window. So if we said top, if we do the same thing, actually, that'd be interesting. Now this is going to be, it's going to look the same initially, it's in the same position, it's whatever we specified from the top and whatever we specified from the left, but if we scroll down, it's actually going to stay in that position. So some people do this for perhaps fixed footers, so if we were going to make the width 100% and the height something less, like 30 pixels, and then we say we want it from the bottom 0, and from the left 0, because these are the other things we can give it. We can give it either top value, a left value, a bottom value, or a right value, or whatever combination we want to give. So bottom 0, left 0, we'll see it's going to just stick to the bottom here, and when we scroll down, it stays to the bottom for kind of like one of those. Some people like having footers that stick to the bottom. I don't really like that. I mean, you're going to want it to always stick to the bottom of the page usually, but to the bottom of the browser window, I don't know. So position fixed, you get the idea of that. Position relative, let's just put everything back to where it was in absolute quickly. Okay, position relative, and that's just going to position it relative to where it is. So if we just take all this out for a sec, it's usually there. If we give it position relative left 10 pixels, it's going to be push from the left 10 pixels, and so it's going to move 10 pixels right, basically. and we can do the same thing with top if we wanted to, just like that. Apart from apparently that didn't work because I screwed that up. I need a semicolon. Okay, so there we go. Now, position relative, I find one of the most useful, because if we just have something in a division somewhere which has a restrained width, so let's just say it's stuck in the middle of the page between, I don't know, between certain points basically, and then we just go, okay, relative to where you are, which is somewhere in the middle of the page, just go like left minus 10 pixels or something, because we can specify minus values for these as well. So just minus 50 pixels, that's going to be off the page. Perhaps to show that, we can just say like minus 150. There you go, so now you can see the cake is partially off the page. Let's also just take off this height restriction, that's annoying me. Okay, cool. So there we go, that's position relative. And next we have position static, and that's what it defaults at, so you're not often going to be writing position static. Basically that just means it's going to ignore any top left, bottom right properties you have, and it's just basically just going to have its normal position, just like that. And we also have position inherit, and that just means it's going to inherit the position from whatever parent element might have positioning. So that's position pretty much. We could set various things if we wanted to, I guess. Let's do that. So 10 pixels from the left of the browser window, it's going to stay there, and we might want a paragraph, position relative, top 15 pixels, and our span, position absolute, top 50%, yeah sure, top 50%, left 50%, and let's just refresh the page, and we can see everything's everywhere now, and that's all because of the positioning which we've applied. And we can see also that the cake follows because it's fixed, and who doesn't always want cake in their browser? So let's move on to float. Now float is extremely useful. I don't like the way I say float. So basically, let's just see what everything's going to look like normally, and let's remove all the filler content we put down here as well. Okay, cool, so this is our page. And float pretty much is just going to allow us to, literally kind of how it sounds, float different elements around the page. So if we just make our cake a little bit smaller first of all, 350 pixels wide, let's just say. Okay, that's cool. And now let's just give it the property float and give it the value of left. Because when we have float, the options are left or right. So now it's floating to this side of the screen, and now this stuff goes, okay then, I'll just kind of wrap around. So they both come up here, which is the default behavior. And most of the time that's probably going to be what you want, but it obviously depends what these guys are. In this case with a paragraph and a span, it kind of makes sense for them to come up here. So we have float left, but let's just say we didn't actually want our paragraph to come up here. We said, actually, no, don't listen to any floats. Just go below any floats and clear them. So what we do to do that is we just use the clear property, and we give it the value of the left in this case. So it's going to clear any floats to the left, and hence it's going to be pushing the span down as well. Or if we have something floating to the right, like that, if we want to clear the float to the right, we can do clear right, like that. Or if we have, it's going to be the easiest way to, I know what I can do. So if we just clone this image and give them the style attribute, which is, remember, is how we can just give it styling easily and quickly in the HTML, please ignore that. And then we can say one's floating left, one's floating right, and oops, let's just take off the clear. So if we have a situation like this, where they're just kind of wrapping around both floats, and we want to clear them both, then we can just say clear both, and I want a space there. And you can see, boom, there we go. Now, it's also worth noting in this case, if we just wanted to clear left, because they're both on the same level, that's going to have exactly the same effect in this instance. But perhaps one slightly lower down than the other, so maybe the one on the right has a margin bottom of 100 pixels. I meant margin top, didn't I? So like that. perhaps more in this instance. 250 pixels. And it's clearing the wrong one, isn't it? Yeah, oh, here we go. So if the P then only clears the left one, we can see, here we go, now it's wrapping around there. So clear both in this instance would have a different effect. So if we put it back to clear both, that's going to, oh my god, what just happened? It's going to go to the bottom. I don't have a clue what that was. It's going to go to the bottom of both. Anyway, that's what I'm trying to say. So let's just do a quick recap. We have width and height, and min width, min height, max width, max height. And I can't remember what we did those with. Oh yeah, that's when we found out span and generally inline elements, apart from image. What's going on there? Don't have a clue. Someone comment if you know why why image and inline element can actually be affected by width and height, because that is slightly odd. Maybe it's just because it makes sense, obviously, for you to be able to specify the dimensions of images. I guess that's probably it. But does that then go against the standards and some of the rules that they've set? I don't know. So you can tell how much I work with sizing inline elements. I guess generally sizing inline elements with width and height isn't something you need to do. Hence, in the middle of the video, I found out. Anywho, yeah, we did width and height, max and mins, and we did position absolute, which remember is positioned in relation to the nearest thing in the structure, which has positioning stuff, which a lot of the time is probably going to just be kind of like your body and the web page in general in position to that. We have fixed, which is in relation to the browser window. We have relative, which is in relation to its normal position. We have static, which is its default position, and it's going to ignore any left, right, top, bottom values we give it. And we have inherit to inherit the value from its parent. We also have float to the left to float an element to the left, and I should probably very quickly say float left. Not left, what I'm talking about. Float left. Ah no, quick, I'm doing my summary. I'm not supposed to interrupt my summary. If we float both things to the left, then the one first in the markup is going to come first. We can't actually tell which one it is, but the one that's first in the markup has come first, I can assure you. So we can float multiple things in the same direction. It's not going to like glitch up and put them in the same place or anything like that. So yeah, we have float left and right. Same thing happens with right, by the way. If you float both right, the one last in the markup is going to be the first one on the right. And we can also clear floats using clear left, clear right, and clear both. So this video has been quite a long video. It's included a little bit of troubleshooting, which might help some of you out who have problems. If you ever have problems, literally a couple of Google search terms and you should be able to find your solution. There are a lot of people with HTML and CSS problems, most of which have been solved on forums, Stack Overflow, and loads of different places. So that's the end of this video, and have a nice day.